The two men met for the last time in an FA Cup tie in 1983 that saw Taylor's second division derby overcome Clough's first division Forest.
I must ask you, did you speak to Brian?
No. No, I didn't seem to speak to him, no.
Then poor old Peter died, and Brian had never made it up with him, and I think that had a great effect.
I'm absolutely certain that he would have, if he had things to change again in his life, that would be the one thing that he would have spoken to Peter Taylor, because they had a phenomenal relationship.
I've missed him. He used to make me laugh. Did he? Hope he's all right.
Brian, now alone, set about rebuilding Forest around youthful names like Pearce, Keane, and one more familiar to him, Clough.
Nigel was brilliant. You'll see many managers who've got the kids playing in football, and it's even harder when they're at the same club. The manager will get criticised, they'll get talked about in the dressing room by the players, and he has to be part of that.
There was never any suggestions of any sort of favouritism or anything like that. And everyone was far too professional because of the result and the team. That was everything, and it wasn't down to any particular individual, whether it was anybody else's son or not.
You wouldn't think they were father and son. They separated the togetherness away from the football club. That was brilliant and close. But I think in the club they were very professional, and Nigel in particular very focused on that.
2 league titles, 4 league cups, but Clough's domestic trophy cabinet had one glaring omission.
We'd seen him win everything, yet the FA Cup was his dream. He's always chased it, he's always wanted it, and he really wanted it, and you could sense that.
Forest led Tottenham early, only for Spurs to take the game to extra time. But curiously, Clough remained in his seat and didn't speak to his players.
Clough liked to do things differently. He liked a surprise. It was part of his success.
But on this occasion, it backfired.
Oh, a chance at the far side. It's in! Own goal, I think.
For me personally, that's a big disappointment, because I'd like to think we should have done that for him.
And his last chance was gone.
The later Brian Clough, well, drink just finished him off, and by then he was clinging to, you know, a shadow of the guy we all thought we knew, and it was tragic.
Alcohol made Clough's behaviour unpredictable. Viewers were goggle-eyed at his antics during a pitch invasion, although later he apologised in his own inimitable style.
Give us a kiss. Give us a kiss.
Chase man.
I think we all noticed the changes. It was, it wasn't instant. It was just gradual. But there was times when you question what his decisions were. You would think about what he was doing. But probably the cruelest part was the fact that we all knew the alcohol had hit him hard.
It's sad to see the way that this so confident man could become the figure that he became. But I don't think people laughed at him. They were saddened by what they saw.
40 years in this business, I think, takes its toll, and I think it's caught up quite rapidly, you know, the last 18 months or so.
It was getting out of hand a wee bit, but it's like everything else. You just face it and get on with life and cut it out.
I feel he still had his finger on the pulse for a long time, and it was the latter stages that just took his eye off it a wee bit and lost that little bit of balance and direction, and that's when we lost our way.
In 1993, Clough's side were not coping well with the newly formed Premier League, but for him there was worse to come.
It has been agreed that Brian will retire at the end of this season.
Despite being given the freedom of the city and an honorary degree just months earlier, the Forest Board had decided it would be Clough's last hurrah.
He probably should have left earlier on a high instead of really dragging it out.
Could do with him centre half, lad. Bottom of the league.
It just pitted out, and it didn't deserve that. His career didn't deserve that. He deserved better.
His last meaningful game in charge was against Sheffield United at his beloved City ground, a game Forest had to win to avoid the drop.
I suppose a commentator's first requirement is not to be biased, but I couldn't help wanting Nottingham Forest to win the match. They had to win to save themselves.
Hartfield's cross. Gale! 2-0!
And for Clough to end his career at Nottingham Forest by being relegated just was desperate. But the man was in a pretty desperate state.
He was like your father, and he was having a bad day, and he didn't look well, and everything about his demise was there for everybody to see. And it was sad.
I can't remember what I asked him. Even now, that moment sort of comes back, but it's something that I sort of want to blank away.
So what are you going to do with yourself? You're not a chap for football looking at a dog.
I'm going to spend boring minutes talking to people like you.
Is that all you're going to do? Is that all you're going to do?
That's what I'm going to do. No, I'm not.
He's the only manager who's ever kissed me in public. I'm not alone, though. He's kissed a few other people.
Hello, beauty. Come on, say hello. Hello, girl.
Oh, go on, you have to go.
Well, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
We'll have to go sometime. And no crying.
You're still the best, man.
People should remember him for the great bits, and in my memory, it's up there, the good parts, the great parts, and I think more of them than the last bit.
It's not worked out in the sense that I've been relegated. So it hasn't worked out that way. But it's worked out the fact that at 58 I've stayed in work, I've got a few bob, and I'm going to enjoy my retirement. So it has worked out.
Brian Clough, the former Nottingham Forest manager, has been charged with misconduct by the Football Association following an inquiry into bungs, their illicit backhanders paid on the transfer of players.
Clough appeared before a Football Association disciplinary panel, but no charges were ever brought against him.
You can only be there 6 minutes when you know you've not done anything wrong.
Lots of people were sailing close to the wind and got away with it, and maybe still are. But in those days, yeah, you probably had chairmen doing it as well. It seemed to be the way football was run.
He did a few things his way which were a bit questionable, and he was probably quite lucky that his ill health prevented a greater inquiry into transfer dealings.
Brian Clough, one of Britain's most inspired football managers, has died.
Aged 69, of course led Nottingham Forest to 2 European Cup titles.
He'd been suffering from stomach cancer for 18 months.
And became known as the best manager England never had.
Brian Clough was gone, but he'll never be forgotten.
Anytime I think, well, what did Brian do for me? I just look at a cabinet I've got at home and it's full of medals and massive honours in the game, and I owe it all to him.
He brightened all our lives. We perhaps didn't like him very much, but he was one of those magical guys you'll never ever forget.
He'd tap you on the shoulder and say, well done. You'd go walk out that dressing room like you were Goliath, you know. He had that effect on you, you know. If you got his praise, you knew you'd done well, because you didn't give it out that often.
Time in his company would be provoking, interesting, fun, and I think I'm a better person for having known him, and I think that applies to a lot of other people.
He used to say, didn't he, I hope I've contributed and I hope somebody liked me. So, you know, I think a lot of people did, yes.
Bill Shankly would have gone berserk, for example, if he'd had to talk to a player and say, would you like to sign for Liverpool? And then the agent would have turned around and said, or the player would have turned around and said, I've got to talk to my agent. Bill would have hit him, and I would have held him so Bill could hit him. It's as simple as that.
Oh, it's crap! Oh, it's bloody rubbish! It's rubbish!
It's very, very difficult, Pat, for me to talk about it at the moment. But I'm against them. I don't have any O-levels, I don't have any A-levels, and when my children chastise me and give me stick about my lack of this, I put my European Cup medals on the table and my Championship medals. I've got a table full. They're my O-levels and A-levels.
Dictators are out, but I would love to be the perfect dictator.
People get some things in life by being one. And I don't know what the population of the earth is, but if you're one of it, then you're a bit special.